I want to show you a car, not a concept, not a promise for 2030, a real electric car that you can buy today. This is the BYD Seagull, and in China, last spring, BYD dropped its price to 56,800 Chinese yuan. That is about $7,800 US. Let me say that again because this is just ridiculous. Not 78,000, not 27,000, $7,800. Now, here is the cheapest electric car the West will sell you. The cheapest Tesla is the Model 3 at around 36,990. The cheapest Volkswagen, the ID.3, starts near 37,000. The cheapest Toyota EV runs around 34,900. Every Western car maker lands in the mid-30s, and BYD is selling a car for a fifth of that. So I did what you're probably doing right now. I assumed it was a trick. There's a catch, right? And I went looking for where it was hidden. Because a price like that does not just feel like cheap, it feels like something is missing. The question is, what? You might call this unfair. The Seagull, after all, is a small car built for China. Fine, let's remove every excuse. Take the same car and ship it to Europe, where BYD sells it as the Dolphin Surf. Now it has to cross an ocean, clear customs, pay European taxes and crash standards, and pay a special tariff Europe created to make Chinese cars more expensive. After all of that, the Dolphin Surf launched at just under 20,000 euros, about $22,900, still roughly half the price of that Volkswagen built just down the road. This is not a fluke of one market. When the outlet Rest of World compared BYD's cheapest car to Tesla's cheapest across 10 countries, BYD won on price in every single one. In Thailand, the gap was more than 30,000 US. Even in one of the closest cases, Japan, BYD came in at about 12,000 US cheaper. So I removed the specs, the taxes, the shipping. I even left in the tariffs designed to punish them. But the gap did not close, which is the real mystery here. Because a car is not a t-shirt. It has 10,000 parts, steel, glass, battery pack, safety standards. That cost does not just vanish. So where did the missing costs go? And before you tell me this is just one strange cheap car, it isn't. In 2025, BYD outsold Tesla in pure electric vehicles worldwide, 2.25 million to 1.64 million. Across all its models, it sold 4.6 million cars and booked over $110 billion in revenue, overtaking Ford to become one of the 5 largest automakers on Earth. So, let's find where the money is going. Here is the first theory, and it is the one BYD wants you to believe. There is no trick, they are simply better at building cars. And on this point, we should give the devil his due. Because BYD did not start as a car company. It started in 1995 in Shenzhen, southern China, as a battery maker. A chemist named Wang Chuanfu making rechargeable cells for phones. Within a few years, they were supplying Motorola and Nokia, and had become one of the world's biggest phone battery makers. They did not enter the car market until 2003, when they bought a struggling state-owned automaker. Now, listen closely, because this is the key to everything. Every Western car maker is a car company that had to go learn batteries. BYD is a battery company that went and learned cars. And the battery is the single most expensive part of an electric vehicle. So BYD does something almost nobody else does. It makes the expensive parts itself. When the bank, UBS, took a BYD Seal apart to cost it out, they found that roughly 75% of the car, including the battery, was built in-house, versus about 30% at a traditional car maker. Their conclusion? The Seal costs about 15% less to build than a Tesla Model 3 and holds a 25% cost advantage over comparable European and American EVs, even after tariffs and shipping. A 2026 study by the Rhodium Group went further, estimating BYD holds roughly a $4,700 per car cost advantage over Tesla, and calling vertical integration, not subsidies, the single biggest reason its cars are so cheap. BYD makes its own batteries, its own motors, even its own computer chips. Its Blade battery uses a cheaper chemistry with no expensive nickel or cobalt, packed straight into the floor of the car. and it employs around 9,000 people, including nearly 1,100 research engineers. By its own count, the largest R&D workforce of any automaker on the planet. So maybe the real scandal is not that BYD is too cheap, maybe it is that everyone else is too expensive. As the consulting firm YCP put it, even among China's own EV makers, quote, only a few like BYD, end quote, build this way. And for a moment, I almost believed that. Almost. But engineering only explains why BYD can build a car cheaply, not why it sells this far below what rivals charge. Even Rhodium's numbers describe a cost advantage, not a $7,800 sticker. So, if the factory explains how BYD builds cheap, what explains how low it will go? For this, we need to stop looking at the factory. We need to look at what stands behind it. Behind BYD is not just a company, it is a country. For 15 years, the Chinese government has poured money into its electric vehicle industry. One estimate from the Center for Strategic and International Studies, which they call conservative by the way, puts total support at around $230 billion between 2009 and 2023. At its peak, that worked out to almost $14,000 of state support behind every EV sold. BYD itself is quite open about this part. In its own 2025 filings, it disclosed about $1.8 billion in government grants in a single year. Researchers at Germany's Kahle Institute estimated BYD's direct subsidies jumped from around 220 million euros in 2020 to 2.1 billion euros by 2022, a rise of roughly $250 million to about $2.4 billion. On top of that sit tax exemptions worth an estimated $500 billion, about $77 billion, plus cheap land, cheap loans, and a nationwide charging network the state helped build. Now, this is where it would be easy to be unfair. So let me be honest, the West does this too. When General Motors and Chrysler collapsed in 2008, the United States bailed them out for almost $80 billion. And taxpayers still absorbed a roughly $12 billion loss on the two. America's own EV tax credit handed buyers $7,500 a car, a program projected to cost hundreds of billions. Tesla only survived its early years thanks to a $465 million government loan in 2010. Germany spent around 10 billion euros, around $11 billion subsidizing electric cars. So every car maker gets help. The difference is scale and coordination. When the European Union investigated, it concluded BYD's subsidies were large enough to justify a 17% tariff, while Tesla's China-built cars got just 7.8%. But here is the twist that kept me digging. Add up the engineering, add up the subsidy. They explain how BYD can build a cheap car. They still do not explain how it can sell one below cost, year after year, and still be standing. When a price drops beneath what the car costs to make, that gap does not vanish. Somebody absorbs it. So who? This is the part you cannot see from the showroom, because when a price gets pushed this low, the cost does not disappear. It gets moved onto people quiet enough not to complain. Start with the suppliers, the firms that sell BYD its seats, its glass, its wiring. According to data compiled by US-based Bloomberg, in 2023, BYD took an average of 275 days to pay them. Not 45, not 60 like most in the industry, 275. And often it does not pay in cash at all, but in IOUs through its own financing platform, which had issued around $56 billion of these notes. One research firm, GMT Research, argued this quietly obscured BYD's true debt, estimating at more than 10 times what the company officially reported, though BYD maintains its books follow standard accounting rules. The pressure grew so severe that in 2025, under new government rules, BYD and 16 rivals publicly promised to start paying suppliers within 60 days. Again, the industry standard. Next, the dealers. In just the first 11 months of 2024, China's car dealers lost a combined $24 billion in a painful price war, and roughly 4,000 of them shut down. By 2025, more than half of all dealers were losing money, and 81.9% were selling cars for less than they had paid for them. Several BYD dealerships simply collapsed. Then there are the people who already bought the car. When BYD slashed prices across 22 models in 2025, cutting some by the equivalent of $7,300, every loyal customer who had paid full price a month earlier watched their car's value fall off a cliff. Chinese plug-in hybrids and EVs now hold less than half their value after just 3 years. And finally, the workers. In the spring of 2025, thousands of BYD workers went on strike over pay cuts. At one factory, after the company cut the overtime that made the job livable, monthly take-home pay reportedly fell as much as $900 towards $450, close to China's minimum wage. This got loud enough that China's own government stepped in. The Ministry of Industry called the price war a classic case of involution, and warned bluntly, quote, "There are no winners in a price war, nor is there any future," end quote. The chairman of a rival automaker went further, warning that an, quote, "Evergrande," end quote, of the car industry, a hidden debt bomb, already exists, and is, quote, "just yet to explode," end quote. That is where the money went. It did not vanish. It got quietly transferred from the showroom to the supplier, the dealer, the owner, and the worker. A cheap car does not erase a cost. It just decides who pays it. So I have one last question then. If no one is really making money on these cars, why keep doing it? Because this was never about making the profit on today's car. In 2025, even as sales rose, BYD's net profits fell 19%, down to a margin of around 4%. As recently as 2023, it made only around $1,250 of profit per car, against roughly $8,250 at Tesla. BYD is choosing scale over money. Why? Here is why. The consultancy Alex Partners predicts that of the 129 Chinese EV brands fighting today, only 15 will still be standing by 2030. By early 2026, only about 3 Chinese EV makers were profitable at all. Brands like WM Motor and Hi-Fi have already gone bankrupt or gone dark. This is not a price war. It is a last one standing contest. And BYD's own founder calls it exactly that, a, quote, knockout stage, end quote. Even BYD's own executive vice president, Stella Li, now admits the pricing is, quote, not sustainable, end quote. And the walls are going up to meet them. Europe hit BYD with a 17% tariff. The United States slapped a 100% tariff on Chinese electric cars. So BYD is racing to build factories outside China, in Thailand, Hungary, and Brazil, partly to get behind those walls. But building abroad costs more. And at its flagship plant in Brazil in late 2024, inspectors halted construction and described 163 Chinese workers living in, quote, slavery-like conditions, end quote. By 2026, Brazil added BYD to its official forced labor list. BYD said it does not tolerate such conditions and cut ties with the contractor responsible. The hidden cost had surfaced again, just in a different country, which brings us back to that $7,800 price tag. Is BYD hiding something? Here is what I think. BYD may not be hiding one secret. The car is real, and the engineering is genuinely quite good. What the sticker price hides is a system. It hides the government that spent 15 years seeding the industry. It hides the suppliers waiting most of a year to be paid and then paid in IOUs. It hides the dealers selling below cost, the owners watching their value evaporate, and the workers whose overtime disappeared. And it may be hiding something from the future customer, the one who pays more once the rivals are gone. And BYD, by its founder's own stated plan, is the biggest car maker on earth. The $7,800 is honest about the car. It is just not the whole bill. Because a price this low was never a miracle of manufacturing alone. It was a decision about who pays and when. And most of the people paying for your cheap car will never know they did.